Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt. My name is Mike Chisholm, and as always, I'm a broken record when I start these damn things. I keep talking about how grateful I am to be doing this, and I am grateful to be doing this. This is the highlight of my week when I get to have conversations around men's mental health and the world that surrounds that, men's mental wellness, and just helping. I don't know, man. I know I'm on a journey. I don't know about all you out there that are listening or viewing, but I think we're all on a journey, and if we can make that journey a little bit better, life's pretty short, and I'm at the stage of life. I'm middle age right now, and I got lots of friends, parents who are passing. I got lots of friends who are going through medical stuff right now, and it's just one of those things where it's like, man, if we can make this journey a little bit better, the time that goes by so fast might just be a little better, and we can relate to each other better. And I can't think of a time in history where our culture needs that more than anything. So I love doing these podcasts, having these amazing conversations with amazing people. If you haven't downloaded the HeChangedIt app, what are you waiting for? New features are going in every week. It's building, it's growing. The community is happening. Go to HeChangedIt.com, check it out, but it's in both app stores. And if you like this podcast, we would invite you to share it, subscribe to it, share it, and we just come be part of the community that we're building here. The best part about this is I get the front row seat of having conversations with very cool people about very cool things, and today is no exception. Today we've got a gal by the name of Kassandra Parker on our podcast. We've had 2 out of 3 of the hosts of In Pursuit. So we've had Troy Reeves, we've had Chris as well on here as been guests of heCast. Well, there was a third host there for a while until she had to break away because she was building up her own coaching practice and other things as well. And that's Kassandra. And I am very excited to talk to her. She's been a teacher for well over a decade, but in the last few years, she kind of knew that there was something else. There was another calling, and she's actually gone through Jay Shetty's training to become a life coach or a coach, a performance coach, a personal coach. We'll talk to her about what kind of coach she is and what she does and the journey that's brought her there. I'm so excited, Kassandra, that you're here today. Thank you for taking time. I know it's busy. I know you're end of the school year, as well as your business going on, and you got lots of things going on in your life. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to being on heCast.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And I know I'm really excited to talk to you, Mike, because I know talking to your wife, Candace, that was amazing. And what you two are doing and creating, I'm such a supporter.
Well, 2 things about that. Number one, the conversation with me is not going to be as good as the conversation with her. Okay. She's the better half in this by far. And second, you know what? She and her team are doing some amazing things. They literally want to change the world. And I get I get the fun job. I get to talk to people like you and so many other guests and be a part of it that way. They're in the background doing all the heavy lifting, but I will make sure that she hears that and knows it. So thank you so much for taking time. You and I, what's the age difference? I'm 45. Where are you at?
I'm 42 in just 4 days.
Okay. So we're 3 years apart. We grew up a stone's throw away from each other, but never met each other while you were here.
I know. That's so funny. And I think you even hung out with some of the people I hung out with in high school.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of stuff to unpack today, and I'm really excited about that. I want to talk about the journey that has brought you to becoming a coach. And, I know that it's a journey that didn't just happen the last couple of years. There's been a whole bunch of life events that have culminated to you becoming a coach. And one of the things that you love to talk about are the masculine and feminine dynamics. And boy, even that phrase that I just said is charged in the culture that we live in right now. The masculine and feminine dynamics, even those words are being challenged right now. But you have a real heart for that particular topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. And I think kind of how I got into that, well, I'll go back to kind of how I started with the coaching and how that incorporates in. So it was about 3.5 years ago. I was in a marriage, and we at the end, it wasn't very healthy. And I was getting lost in it. And that's on me. And because we all have choices when we're in any sort of relationship. But I was at a place where I was feeling very unhealthy. So I was quite overweight, and I was eating to kind of forget about my feelings. I had plantar fasciitis in both feet really bad. So I'd have to go down the stairs like on my bum in the morning because I couldn't walk. Oh. I had a herniated back disc that was supposed to be operated on. I had an umbilical hernia, insomnia. My cortisol levels were like through the roof. I was just constantly stressed, constantly on edge. And when you're like that and you're not connected to your body and you're constantly in your head, you like that anxiety, it just doesn't seem to really leave. And you feel like you have to kind of control things, right? So I was much more in my masculine, in a very unhealthy masculine. So we've got the four.
What is that? Define that as you know it.
So we've got the healthy masculine, the shadow masculine, I call it. It's more commonly known as toxic masculine. Yeah. And then we've got the healthy feminine and shadow feminine. So the term toxic, I feel like we need to get rid of that. That's a bit of a buzzword, of the past. Isn't it? Yeah. It's a buzzword. And then it kind of umbrellas, and it's hard to differentiate between healthy masculine and toxic masculine. It's starting to feel like it's just the masculine is toxic, and it's not. But a shadow masculine is something that all of us, no matter our gender that we identify with, holds within us. We hold all four energies. So a toxic masculine would be a place where it's more where you need to show aggression. So you've got your strength and showing strength. That's very healthy masculine, showing it in an aggressive way, showing it from a place of ego alone, ego to the point of being willing to hurt somebody else along the way. Right. That would be more like that. Or
fear or instinct. Like it's kind of when thought kind of goes out the window, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like you're dealing with this part of your brain, right? Your medulla oblongata. You're dealing with your primitive monkey mind.
Yes.
Rather than with the front part of your brain or with your heart. And you're usually not very in your body in those moments. And for me, the shadow masculine would show up as control. Okay. And I would control things because they felt so out of my control.
Right.
So I would kind of step in and do that. So when I separated from my ex, I had a lot of work to do. And through grieving, I also made sure that I was reconnecting with who I was, trying to figure out who I was, because I got together with him as a teenager and spent my entire adult life with him. So connecting with who I was, but also then re-falling in love with myself. And that was such an amazing journey, and figuring out what I wanted in life and just embracing that. As I started to embrace that, I started to feel more feminine because I was starting to do more art again and be more creative. And my cortisol levels were lower. My stress was lower. I was loving myself enough that I was eating well. I was working out. I was taking care of myself. Mm-hmm. And ocean swims, I try to do those like very regularly. Yep. And all of these things were very much in a feminine flow. So all of that energy that was coming through me, it wasn't that I wasn't experiencing hurt or sadness or pain, mm-hmm. but I was allowing it to flow through rather than get trapped inside. And then I started to study, I started to feel so much better. I started to feel so much more spiritual and sensual and connected. And then I started to realize I'm in my feminine, and this is where I naturally belong. This is where my strength is more, for me, I've realized it's about a 70-30, 70% feminine energy, 30% masculine energy. And because not no one, but most people don't have a 50-50. Right?
So yeah, I think this is a good time for me to kind of jump in and ask this question, because I think that there are going to be viewers or listeners to this and maybe have never heard of the idea that inside of this meat cycle or meat suit that I'm walking around in, there's a masculine and a feminine energy. Like we all kind of have that. And it's not to do with how manly of a man you are, or how womanly of a woman you are. That's not what you're talking about here.
Mm-mm.
And I think a lot of people maybe haven't been awakened to kind of that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to be able to tap into your masculine and feminine energy, because yes, we all contain all four of the energies, the shadow and the healthy of the masculine and the feminine. Okay. But to be able to tap into them and recognize when you're doing that. So like if you're holding a space and you're a man and you're holding that space and being that container for the woman that you're with, assuming it's a straight relationship, that the woman that you're with is being able to emotionally release, and you're holding that space, you're coming from a place of empathy and emotions, and you're tapping into your feminine.
Right.
Holding the space physically is the masculine, but being able to empathize and reverberate that back is also tapping into a feminine there. Or if you are an artist and being more creative, that's a feminine energy. It doesn't mean that person is feminine. It's not an identity, but it's more an expression of an energy.
So are the attributes of the masculine and of the feminine as stereotypical as they might seem? Masculine is athletic, or can feminine be athletic as well?
I think it's both. I think it's almost, I think masculine is around strength and control and organization and logic. Yeah. And feminine
and that's very stereotypical, right? If you look at the male-female dynamic, many times you see the man is the logical one, the woman is the emotional creature, right?
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's really connected to usually men's higher purpose connects, or their divine self kind of connects with their purpose, right? And us, for a lot of women that identify more in the feminine energy, our higher purpose kind of connects more with love.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And it's neat that you're using the word purpose, a word that has come up a lot, not just in the podcast, but also when Candace and her team started building HeChangedIt, when they're in the discovery phase, one of the pain points that they was loud and clear about men who are in distress, men who are going through some of these dark cloud days, many times are not attached to any sort of purpose. Or maybe they've, kind of what the journey you went through, but from their perspective, they did everything right they were told to do. They got out of school, they either went right to work or got with a good job or got some education, then went and got the job, then went and got the family and the house and all that stuff. And here they are in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s even, and they're realizing they're not fulfilled because they haven't been connected to a purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And I think connecting to that healthy masculine and also being able to tap into the healthy feminine for a man is really important with finding that purpose and pursuing it. Because if you think about relationships and you think about, you need polarity, right? So this is why the energies are so important. You need polarity, whether it's even within yourself, or in friendships, but especially in romantic relationships. So if, say, the man can't show up making a decision, then who's going to make the decision? The woman's going to, which is great. There's nothing wrong with a woman making a decision. That's a really great thing.
Right.
But if it's constantly happening, then the polarity is going to shift to where she's the more masculine within the relationship.
So this gets into, if I use two more buzzwords that I know nothing really about, like a dominant submissive type situation as well. Would those be words?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, that would be completely different. So being in a feminine is not, it's not being less than, it's not being less in control of your body. It's being into whatever your balance is, whatever that ideal balance is that suits the individual. So it's about connecting to your body. It's about coming out of your head and into your heart and connected to your body. So it's a high level of self-awareness.
A high level of self-awareness. Okay. And I mean, how important is that? Like, you think about with the situation that you were in, you know, and the chain reaction of things that happen because of that situation, you know, the specifics of it, you know, you're walking on eggshells. Okay. You're constantly in fear, you're on edge, and then decisions, how you eat, all these things kind of snowball down, and your self-awareness really at that point was nothing.
No, I was very disconnected. I was disconnected to my partner. I was disconnected. I was quite connected with my kids, but still to some level, I wasn't nearly as present in a moment as I would want to be, or I am now. Same with in my teaching and my friendships. I mean, I'm really surprised. Like that I had such amazing close friends that stood by me through that, because I really didn't show up the way that a close friend should. But with me, I was so disconnected with me. So in those times when I was feeling more in my masculine, right? Like, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back on it, I very much was in my unhealthy masculine, like a shadow masculine.
Yeah.
And thought I was in control and controlling my life. I was completely not in control. Like, there's something.
Can you give an example of that? Can you think of one?
Yeah, like so many, like all the health issues I had.
Yeah.
Which are all gone. I never ended up doing any surgeries. Being overweight, not being able to have to sleep. You know, just like writing everything down so I wouldn't miss anything, and just like everything being so organized and kind of perfect and calculated. And now I do like way more in a day. And also get up about 4 hours earlier than I used to. And I still do lists. I enjoy lists. I like lists, but not to the same. There's so much room for whatever comes up, whatever shows up. And I think that's, you know, that's kind of a feminine energy is a more flowy energy. It's kind of like the ocean waves, you know, whereas like the masculine's like the mountains, it kind of holds the space. But I think being able to have that space to just kind of do whatever comes up, be more creative. That's very like an example of having so much more in your life by releasing control.
Isn't that interesting? You know, we let go of the wheel and we go to where we need to go to. Sometimes we overthink things too much. And yeah, I mean, I've been there too, where I feel like I'm gripping so tight that grip. And the intent from the grip is that I just so badly want to feel like I've got some stability, but the grip itself is hurting whatever it is that I'm going through.
Totally. And I think a lot of men feel like that. Like, I know some of the men that I coach feel that way, is like, when they're struggling and they're gripping onto something, right? It's almost like a fear of loss or not being good enough, right? Yes. And having that faith within yourself and that pride within yourself and that self-awareness that you will be okay, you're able to release that grip. And that's often connected to being able to be comfortable in a masculine energy, which I think is so important. Us women, we're embraced by society to be as feminine or as masculine as you want. Can go whatever way, you know, like a career-driven woman, amazing. A woman that stays home with the kids, amazing. You know, but
stigma is what, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying there's less stigma for women than there are for men.
Way less.
Yeah.
Way less. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's easy for women, but when it comes to embracing like a healthy, strong masculine energy, there's a lot of stigma attached to that for men. And so a lot of men are avoiding the masculine altogether rather than switching from the shadow to the healthy masculine.
Isn't that interesting? So it's almost like they're just giving up.
Yeah. Yeah, to some extent, or just
instead of being
going straight ahead.
Maybe that works.
Yeah. Or just, or just sticking with routine, right? I'm just going to go to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to come home. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But I'm not really going to tune in. Like, how's my heart feeling in this? How am I connected to this?
And I think we're coming back.
Is there a piece of me that's lost?
I'm sorry for interrupting there. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
It's like we're coming back full circle to that place of there's only so long that people can do that for before things start to kind of break. And I think that in middle age, that's one of the struggles that both of us, that we're all dealing with. It certainly sounds like that's something that you dealt with. What was the moment that made you decide to make a change? Was there one moment?
No, I think it was just a series of many, many moments. And so I joined the coaching school about a year and 3 months ago and completed the program in 3 months. And that moment was actually me and my kids got diagnosed with COVID, and we had COVID. And the kids were fine. And I felt quite sick for about 9 days, but feeling that sick and that kind of not having quite as much energy and vitality as usual, it really reminded me of how I felt before I started getting healthy. And it connected back to that. And then I was like, I need to do something. I know that this is only going to last me a few days. I wasn't watching the news, so I didn't pay attention to how serious COVID was at all.
Right.
And I was just like, I'll be fine. I just biked from 90 kilometers from Ucluelet to Tofino. I'll be fine. Right. I was like, I'm going to be no problem. And so I didn't really understand it, which I think was actually a good thing in a way.
Yeah. The ignorance is bliss sometimes, right?
Totally. It was great. It served me well. And so then I started to do like some life coaching classes that were free. And then I just devoured it. And I did it for a mindset. I did it to shift my mind and focus on something positive. And then I just fell in love with it and decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be teacher / life coach now.
Well, I mean, it's neat because, you've been a teacher for a long time. And I assume many, if not most of those skills translate over very, very well to effective communication. And the idea that you're able to literally help somebody have one of those light bulb moments that they decide to change the entire trajectory of where they're going, even in their own mind. That's got to be a pretty rewarding feeling.
It's amazing. It's so amazing to see somebody like shift a perspective and go, oh, like maybe that was handed to me as a gift. Yeah. Like maybe that's not just painful, or there is learning in this, or, oh yeah, I completely have so much more power than I thought I had. Yeah. That is a really beautiful thing to see somebody shift that and just take that and run with it.
Well, it's kind of like being generous. I've heard of some very wealthy individuals talking about how generous they are and things that they do with their wealth. And I one gentleman I heard talking about this one time said, people are so gracious and they're thanking him all the time for how much he's giving. And he kind of looks and goes, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it because it feels so good. Almost to the point where he felt bad about that and didn't want to be thanked. He felt like he was being selfish in doing it, Yeah. And I'm certain that it hits some of the same, whether it's chemical hormones or whatever, or energy or whatever it is. I'm certain that is relatable to where you're coming from. It's like, yeah, you're helping all these people have these profound moments, but you yourself are getting fed these profound moments at the same time.
Absolutely. And same with teaching. And shouldn't we all be doing that? Shouldn't we all be doing what we're actually passionate about? And we get like those little like bursts of like feedback every once in a while. And I don't mean validation. I just mean like you see that person or those people doing so well. And it's just like, yes, they've tapped into that. Like I truly believe our potential is limitless. Like, holy cow, we live in this comfort zone so often. And as soon as we get towards that fear And it's scary. Like, it's scary if it's like you're going for a relationship or you're going for that new career or whatever you're going for, and you get that anxiety, you want to turn around.
Yes.
But it's like, just beyond there, that's where the gold is. Like, so just like, sometimes you need someone to support you and be like, actually lean into that fear. Like, look at what's happening. Look at the direction you're going. The hard work is going to pay off.
Yeah. And I mean, I have always subscribed to the idea that if you get out of your comfort zone gets bigger. I mean,
for sure,
you get used to that stuff. You know, if you jump out of a plane once and you survive it, jumping out the second time, third time, fourth time is actually easier than the first time. You know, these things get
totally,
and your comfort zone gets bigger. And as that happens, we expand, but there's so much fear happening. And I don't know if you like, that's something that fear is this thing where in my life, if I recognize it, and I can do what you just talked about, I can actually lean into the fear. You're almost using it as a tool. Mm-hmm. And if you can recognize that fear is there and do something about it intentionally go out of your comfort zone. Totally. That is empowerment. But there are so many people in my, and I mean, before I, learned that, there are so many people who when the fear shows up, they immediately want to go back to, we live in an instant society now, they just want that instant gratification. They want to stay away from the fear. And I think that we need to encourage people that sometimes these situations are what are going to make you better, sometimes better beyond your wildest dreams.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the fear thing, and it's almost always leaning into it is a good thing, because if you're not going to die, which usually you're not, leaning into it it's usually trying to stop you so that you stay in where you're at, so that you don't grow, because your monkey mind's not comfortable with you growing, right? Like, it wants you to grow. And I've got kind of that, I just experienced that relatively recently. And because I don't think our work's ever done. Oh my gosh, there's always stuff we can work on, right? Yeah. And if it's done, how boring would that be? Yes. But just probably a month or so ago, starting to thinking about dating again, and then the fear behind that, and then seeing my life coach, because I think every good life coach should have their own life coach. Yep. And talking to him about that, I realized that there was more work that I needed to do around my father. Because my father, when he found out that when I was conceived, he left. And oh, wow. Yeah. And I never really did the work around that, because I thought, well, he's gone. That's sad, but he was never there. Right. So how do you do work around someone that's never there? He never did anything bad. He just wasn't there. Right. And so I thought that was kind of done. But then, kind of digging away at it, and it's oh, it's not done. Obviously it's not done. So starting to do the work, and it's oh yeah, the first man in my life that should have loved me left. When you put it like that, it's a little different, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I was oh yeah, that is big. Right. That's, yeah. So then kind of leaning into that, I wanted to avoid that. There was a lot of fear around that, and hesitation and anxiety and everything in my body telling me, turn around, you're good. You've done a great job with your life. You don't need to go into this. But then I was actually, I want more. I want to tap into more. There's more depth. There's more layers to peel away. And this is a layer that needs peeled away. It's interesting listening to your perspective on this, because we've got men who are listening to this that may have experienced the same thing. First and foremost, absentee fathers it's a thing. I hate saying it's a thing, but it is, and it's a thing that affects things. And you
putting it in that frame right now. We've got guys who have gone through this, and we may have guys who are listening to this that might be that guy. And I don't know why your dad left. I assume that your biological dad left. I assume there had something to do with fear. And I mean, I think we've all known somebody who they find out they're going to be a parent, and that fear can sometimes be all consuming and can cause actions like that. It might've been something else, but you saying it like that, putting it in that perspective, I hope that gives pause to anybody who might be in a situation like that, because it's not like nothing's going to happen because of it. Even if you're never there, there's going to be a domino effect.
Totally. Yeah. And there was, and yeah. And I expected, I went a huge part of my life believing that men couldn't show up for me, that they couldn't hold a space for me, that they weren't capable of being as emotionally connected as a woman was. And it made me grow up being very independent. And there's a lot of incredible sides to that, and not relying on a man and being super independent.
Yeah.
But really, there's a softness that's lost in that, and it's protective and defensive, and it's not truly authentic, right? And so you kind of have to unpack that, because I just from friends and people I've connected with in coaching and in life, I know it's not true. Men are very capable of showing up and being there and being completely emotionally available, and to hold that space. And it doesn't have to show up as threatening or inauthentic or insincere. So that's been really beautiful to realize and to compare those two things. Like, my evidence that supported me for so long was based on a couple of male figures in my life. And then, like, in the last 3 years or so, I couldn't count how many men I've seen that are like my friends' partners, or people I've met through coaching, that are like truly amazing masculine men that can show up and be safe and be there and be like tapped in and present.
I think that's one of the reasons why I liked In Pursuit so much, because you've got Chris and Troy who are, if you want to go stereotypical masculine men, you got two of them right there. But they obviously had tapped into that other side of things, and hearing your perspective and the way that you guys would mix together on things, I can see how all of this this helped you create new pathways and burn away some of those old pathways that didn't serve you growing up with the ideas that you had about how men are or could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a big part of my growth for sure. Like seeing them being able to, and also to be able to listen to some of my more, like they would call it hippy dippy way of thinking, but very like heart-centered, kind of emotionally connected, and then being open to like learning about it and see the positives in that. And also hold like a very safe, like masculine space.
And I identify with that, because that's me. Like, I'm a peace love guy. Like, I love love. Like, I adore that stuff. And I definitely have a lot of strong masculine energy tendencies and things like that. But my default is to go to that place. Like, I'm that guy that says, can't we all get along, and can't we find compromise in everything? And the answer for bad speech is more speech. We need more words. I'm that guy. Yeah. And for years I felt, I don't know, incentivized almost from a cultural standpoint to bury that stuff a little bit. And and I love being able to have conversations like what we're having right now, where we can actually identify these things out loud, because we got people that are listening that may feel pulled to one or the other, but they're not living that true feeling. They're not living who they actually are, and maybe haven't even woken up to it yet. Maybe they're still on that autopilot in that shadow, like what you were talking about.
Yeah. Or feeling like you're talking about that you're supposed to be one way or the other.
Right.
Rather than it could be both.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Right. You can be very masculine in there, but also really be like, I don't want conflict and fighting. I want communication and love. Right. Yeah.
That's interesting. I know you're not going to play favorites and stuff, so I'm going to ask it this way. I'm not going to ask you if you'd rather have men or women as people that you coach, but I'm going to ask this. I know that when I have met guys in my life who have said if they're going to go see a coach, or they're going to go see a therapist or a counselor or someone to help them work up here or in here for that matter. Many times I've seen people who are polarized, like, oh, I would only talk to a man, or, oh, I would only talk to a woman. In your short time in coaching and all the training that you have done, has that ever been brought up? And is there a dynamic that, is it a different dynamic with men and women across the board, or is everybody just their own different puzzle?
Well, what I found, I guess I've probably coached about 35 people, and I would say like 20 are women and 15 are men, which is actually pretty high numbers for men, because usually it's a lot more women that are going for that sort of self-development, self-growth still. And becoming coaches. Numbers, but the numbers are becoming coached, even with becoming coached also. But the numbers are increasing with men, which is so amazing to see. Yeah. But with women, it's more usually, but not always, they kind of open a little faster. With men, it can take a little bit more time, but also I feel like when they seek a female coach, they're looking to be able to connect to their emotions faster. Like, I think that seems to be the purpose. It's like something isn't connecting right now in my life, and I need to tap into my heart, and I need to connect with that, because something's out of alignment. You know, maybe I'm not feeling passionate about going to work anymore, or I'm feeling guilty that I'm not showing up enough in my relationship, or, you know, or things like that. Or finances are low, and like, why is money not flowing? I'm constantly worrying about that. So I'm constantly answering the phone, but then I can't take a break. And even when I take a break, I'm feeling guilty about not answering the phone.
That's that grip we were talking about. I'm just gripping so fucking hard.
Totally.
That, you know,
Yes. Constantly achieving, right? So it's switching from that external achievement to a balance that fits with the internal. And I think that when men seek a woman coach for that, they know that just because society has unfortunately made it more easy for us to emotionally connect and more acceptable, that they're hoping, you know, can connect a little bit quicker to emotions, which usually is the case, that they can connect pretty quickly emotionally. And then it all kind of balances and makes sense.
It's funny. You know, I was going to ask the question. You said something earlier that you said that women are not just becoming coaches at a higher rate than men are, but you said also that women are being coached at a higher rate than men are. And I was gonna say to you, okay, so give us the commercial. Like, what are the benefits for guys that are listening to this that have never really gone down this path of what coaches can do? What are the benefits of it? But I think you just went through a bunch of them right there.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I think like, it's really about an awareness of where you're at, where you want to be, what your goals are, and the steps to get there, and somebody to help validate you along the way, and help you to recognize what your limiting belief systems are, which sit with us forever. Like, look, I'm just recently unpacking mine around my father, and I thought that was already done, right? So like, our limiting belief systems go deep. Sometimes it's hard to find them. And through conversation and really active listening, you can pull that out of people, but you don't even have to pull it out. They say it, and then you can label it, and then they can actually start to work on it and unpack all those blockages.
Canadian Mental Health Association is building a course right now exclusively for HeChangedIt. It's and it's for specifically for men, and it's communication course. And one of the things within that course that's being put in is active listening, and how important that is, and communication in itself. And this is when you have identified that there is a problem of some sort. And I think when it comes to being coached, the benefit to me, if there's people out there that are feeling lost in anything, wherever they're feeling lost, if there's a blank spot, there's a blind spot, that's where, in my mind, for me personally, coaching can really help, because there's no feeling like when you're feeling lost about something and then suddenly having a solution. And it can be like that. It can be like a light switch that just goes on. And suddenly your entire viewpoint of the world around you completely changes. Yeah,
absolutely. And that solution comes from an awareness. And sometimes we don't know how to tap into that awareness, right? Yes. And you need somebody else to kind of hold up that mirror.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Hey, listen, were you I know you've been a teacher for a long time and all that. Were you a performer in school? Were you that gal that was like a doobie, like a really just like really on point girl?
No.
So why is it then that when you went through your course, if that's the case, how did you go through with such high acclamations? Because when you went through Shetty's course, which is not an easy course, and it's a lot of stuff, you went through with if it was a graduation ceremony, the term flying colors would be used. You kicked butt.
Yeah. I was pretty passionate about it. So I didn't just do the course once, actually. I did it twice in like half of the amount of time that's recommended to do it once. And then I kind of went above and beyond with how many people I coached throughout it too. And then when I did the ceremony, my presentation at the end, it's supposed to be, they're like, okay, it'll be easy. There's 3 people that you need to present to. I'm like, okay, great. I'm super nervous about it. Present and going through it. And I kept thinking like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. But first off, 9 people showed up. I was like, okay, it's more than 3.
Yep.
9 people are showing up. Why is this? And then at the very end, they said, okay, yeah, so it takes like a few days. We need to discuss it. We get back to you. But for the first time in Jay Shetty certification history, we want to say, and they turned on this music and they all had these hand painted signs saying, congratulations, Cass, you did it. You graduated. And they were crying and I was crying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a real like movie moment. It was heartwarming for sure. It was incredible.
And on that day, coaching with Cass was born.
It was. Yeah. I already had my website, but that was when it was like, yes, doing this.
Absolutely. So you were as you were going through the course both times, as you were doing that, you were building the business end of your practice as well.
Yeah. And teaching and parenting. Mm-hmm. All at once. And through COVID. Yeah.
Talk about a momentum shift, and having that light bulb moment that you had and starting down that process of doing the work. You're kind of in the fun part now.
I am. And then I was too, like, honestly, all the coaching work I was doing, like to studying for that course, I was probably doing 6.5 hours a day. Yeah. But all of that felt like me time. Like, it was just like, it was self-care. It was connecting with myself through it. I was finding so much self-awareness and gratitude, and it didn't feel like work. It felt like it took stuff off my plate.
That's beautiful. When you thought about the coaching practice that you want to build, now that you're on the other side of it, has it changed at all, or did it evolve the entire way, or have you started the practice that you thought that you would start when you signed up for the course? When
I signed up for the course and they told me when I do the year, like the end project thing, like the presentation, they said, we want to know what your plan is. And almost everyone doing the course was like, okay, well, I'm taking on as many clients as I can and I'm doing hourly. And for me, I worked backwards. I was like, what sort of life do I want? If I'm going to coach, I need to be the role model for that life. And I do a very early morning routine. You know, I wake up at 5 and I work out and I meditate and I journal and I have my specific things. I'm like, I don't want to leave that. I've got my kids, I've got teaching. And I'm like, what really works well for me is to have about 4 or 5 clients that I coach. I want to see them achieve their goals. I want to work with them the whole time. And I'll see them once a week or every second week if they're too busy. And we work together for 6 or 12 months. And so that's what I created was coaching packages that work for 3, 6, and 12 months. And I just kind of stuck with that. Recently, I added on hour and a half sessions and 45-minute sessions, kind of standalones.
Kind of like pickup sessions,
Yeah, pickup sessions. But in general, I see clients long-term.
That's cool. I told you the time was going to go by so fast. Time gets slippery when we do this. So I know that that's the case, but I want to talk about this because you do this remotely, right?
Yes, I do. And then I also have local clients too. Yeah, but it's just starting to pick up locally, but usually before that it's been through Zoom, which actually is really a great.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really great place to coach through Zoom, actually.
Well, and I want to make sure that we punch that exclamation point because we've got viewers in how many countries? How many countries we got? 12 different countries we've got viewers or listeners
amazing
to this thing. And you know what? It's only going to grow from here because the problem or the solution that needs to come is not getting any bigger, any smaller right now. It's getting bigger. We need more of this stuff. And so the audience is going to get bigger. And I want to know people who listen to this, if any of what we've talked about today has resonated and people want to actually connect with you, they can. What's the best way for them to connect with you, Cass?
Checking out my website. So it's Coaching with Cass, K for Cass.
Yep.
They can also check out Coaching with Cass on Instagram, but probably website has the most information, a little bit about my background and what I do.
It's amazing. And I love that we're sort of on similar trajectories and paths. We're all kind of blowing up at this point here. And it's so fun to do that together and to help each other with that. We certainly want to share what it is that you're doing. As we kind of move to the close here, you know who our audience is. You know what HeChangedIt is doing. I mean, the whole reason you're on here is because you love what we're doing and all of that stuff. What are if there's I don't know if there's sage advice, tips, Yoda-like tips, encouragement about what's happening in the HeChangedIt universe. Take us home here, Cass.
Okay. I think what you guys are all doing is amazing. Like being a mom of a boy and teaching boys and coaching men, like things like what you're doing is going to change our future because women, like from a woman's perspective, we love it when men are aware of themselves and can communicate well and feel really confident in their body, right? And they're able to just have that presence in a current moment. And I think that all of this, like what you're doing it's helping that. And to validate those pressures and stresses and emotions that so often, way too often, men hide, and to give them a space to be able to share them in a men's community too. Like us women have been doing that forever. Fortunately, I know men here on the Sunshine Coast that do a lot of men's circles. Yeah. And that's amazing that that's happening, like men gathering and discussing things. Yeah. But it's not common yet, but it's happening.
Well, and that's what we want to be. I mean, we've gone virtual with everything else. So why not the man circle? Have a man circle in your pocket, your device or whatever it is. I appreciate those words, and I know the team is going to appreciate those words. We started this conversation talking about masculine energy and feminine energy, and how these energies exist in all creatures. One of the things that's happening is, we've got two women founders of HeChangedIt, and that's actually run into a little bit of resistance for them because of that. But like you said, you've got, and both of them, by the way, have boys that are going to be inheriting this world from them when they leave. And
exactly.
They want it to be a better world. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. Kassandra, this went by way too quick. As you build your practice, as these things, success leaves clues, experience leaves clues, and champions are made in the off season. There's three little platitudes there. You are finding all of these clues. As you find them, when you discover a nugget, would you come back here and talk about it with us and our audience?
Yeah, I would love to.
We appreciate
Absolutely. That. Yeah, anytime. I've loved being on here, and thank you for making the space for me.
Hey, I'm grateful for what you're doing. You've taken an off season that a lot of people have just kind of kicked back, and you've gone and kicked your life into overdrive. It's infectious. It's amazing to see. I'm so excited for you in your next chapter, and all the beautiful changes that are happening for you, and all the empowerment you're feeling, and that you're willing to take that empowerment and spread it to others. So thank you, Kassandra, for being who you are.
Oh, thank you very much.
There it is. They go by real quick. Another episode of heCast. So coaching with Cass with a K, go find her online. And, we're always going to be connected with her. And so as she grows and as we grow, we're going to reconnect later on. But I just appreciate you taking the time to sit down wherever you are, whether you're driving, exercising, maybe you're sitting watching this thing on YouTube, however it is. Thank you for taking time out of your day, inviting us into your life. And I hope that we're giving you some good food for good thought, and that, we're all moving forward, and that positive change that needs to happen would happen for you sooner than later. My name is Mike Chisholm. This has been another episode of heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt. Go change something.